So you have a charity, Tree of Life. It focuses on using ketamine and psychedelics to treat PTSD and addiction in veterans and first responders. Tell me more about this initiative. That sounds, yeah, just tell me more about that. Sounds super interesting.
So it's kind of a funny story. So I did a TED talk on replacing opioids with cannabis because it works really well. We use it in the office. And afterwards, my business partner was like, "Hey man, you figured out this pain thing. If you can figure out addiction," he's like, "You get this opioid problem solved." And so I started doing research on figuring out how to fix addiction. And I found out we've known since the '60s that psychedelics like ketamine and psilocybin with magic mushrooms and LSD to a degree has been phenomenal. DMT, so ayahuasca, 85% of the time it fixes addiction, PTSD, and depression. And I'm like, how are we not using this on everybody? And so I started talking to my veteran buddies who've done ketamine, and they're like, oh, it saved my life. And I talked to these veterans who are like, I know what my guns taste like because they've all been in my mouth. And like, that's how bad they were. And when they did ketamine and 6 weeks later, 5 weeks later, it's gone. Not like, oh, I'm treating it, but if I don't do this again, it comes back like with a pill. No, it's gone. It just changes the way the brain functions. And when I started finding that out, I was like, why are we not using this on everybody? It's not that expensive and we can fix this stuff. So that's what the charity came out with. And so what I decided to do was, look, any of the supplements on the Pillars of Wellness website, all that money is going to go to the charity. If you guys want to donate to the charity, great. Well, we're going to take that money, we're going to break the PTSD, the addiction, the depression, these first responders and these veterans, so that we can actually fix the mental health problem, not just talk about it.
So, okay, I'm just going to be real with you. So when I hear these words, ketamine and psychedelics and all of this kind of stuff, like I go back to my teenage years when I was running amok, doing craziness. And I have done ketamine and I've done psychedelics and LSD and all that crazy stuff when I was a teenager, okay? Getting high. And anyways, ketamine, I have a unique story about that. I remember I was a teenager and I took some ketamine, and which is cat tranquilizer, right? And I remember they call it Special K, right? We did that Special K, and I thought I was a clock. I literally thought I was a clock on the wall, like weighing back and forth, and I could hear tick tock, tick talk. I thought I was a clock. Okay, this stuff is powerful stuff, man. Like, I talk to me, man, because I quit that life long time ago. Okay, I quit that life long time ago. But you're saying this stuff helps with addiction and helps break other habits. Do people not get addicted to this stuff?
It's possible. You can get addicted to anything. Like you can get addicted to eating toilet paper. Like it's like anything you can imagine you can get addicted to. So it is possible. But what ends up happening is that the way you do this, so that just doing the drug can help. Like I've talked to veterans who are like, I went out with some friends and did some mushrooms. When I came back, my PTSD was a lot better. And it's the same type of thing that happened with me. But what we want to do is we want to put the mind in the right place. Because when we're looking at psychedelics, so the word psychedelic means the psyche or your soul, and delios is to shine light. So put light on your soul. So like you can actually see what's going on. So like Carl Jung talks about the 3 layers of consciousness, the one we're using right now to talk, your subconscious, and the universal subconscious. And so psychedelics kind of help break into the subconscious and the universal subconscious, so you can actually work on your problems and fix them. So what we do is we bring people in and we do mind work ahead of time, what's called the setting, and intention. Why are we doing this? Are you in a comfortable place? Are you ready to do this? And so like, well, let's get you ready to go mentally. And then you take the medications. And what ends up happening is that your body now starts dealing with some of these things that it hadn't dealt with before.
So that's interesting. A lot of that sounds like intention, right? Like right. When I was a teenager, my intention wasn't to like be healed and like, elevate my mind. It was like, my intention was to get high, right? And doing that stuff. And so it sounds like a little bit of that is an intentional thing. Like what are you doing it for?
Well, and that's a big part. So like if you look at like the DMT, like people just do it for fun versus you're going to go through with an actual shaman and they kind of walk you through why you're doing it and how you're connecting to the universal intelligence and the whole thing. It's a lot different. I've had a lot of my high-end guys, CEOs of big companies, things like that, when they've done the ayahuasca stuff, kind of like Yeah, Aaron Rodgers talks about it. What ends up happening is that, and it's weird, I can't really describe it, but the things that are holding you back from being the person you need to be, from being your purpose, from dedicating your life to your purpose, releases. And it kind of just a little bit. And so you can see the path better. And you're like, this is the things I need to do to make myself better. One of the guys who did them, he came back in and he told me, he goes, all the things I thought were important in my life, he's like, I don't care about it all. He's like, the things I've always known were important, but we're putting a lot of emphasis on, that's all I can see now. But I can see how to make them all better. Like it's a laser focus. Like everything works now. Like, it just all makes sense. And that's what happened with me. And so like my big ketamine story was, before we started the charity, before we did anything, I was like, I'm going to do ketamine because I want to see how it feels, because I'm not going to tell somebody to do something I'm not willing to do. I don't feel like that has an integrity with it. And so part of the story is that, so I figured out how to fix COVID about 4 months in. And so we were pulling people out of hospitals to fix them. But I got a lot of COVID. And so my heart got messed up. And so when I would lay down for about a year and a half, my heart would beat way too hard. And I had looked at it, nobody could figure it out. And then on top of that, my heart rate for the last 20 years has been in the 90s because apparently I had some PTSD from a car wreck when I was in high school. And so those two things just happened to be there. So, and when I went in to do my ketamine, the doctor was like, what's wrong with you? I was like, nothing. I love my life. And he was like, well, we can't do this unless there's something wrong with you. And I'm like, anxiety. I was like, I have stress. He's like, all right. So I do it. And it's funny because my story is hilarious because like, everyone's like, you're going to get high, you're going to enjoy it. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. I hated it. Like I get done and I'm sick as a dog. I feel like I have the flu. I'm throwing up. It's horrible. I get home and I lay down in bed, and that was the first time in 18 months when I would lay down, I couldn't feel my heart beating anymore. It would beat way too hard when I would lay down. I was like, oh, that's cool. I'd check my pulse ox in the morning. My heart rate was in the 60s for the first time in 20 years. So what happened was that it fixed the sympathetic escape that my brain is holding over my body. And so it allowed my heart rate to calm down and allowed a lot of things that my body was just buzzing and pushed on to relax and calm down, because it changed the way, what we call the default neural state. It changed that in my head because of the way it lifted all the neurotransmitters up, and it had them kind of resettle and kind of reset. And so it helps my heart. It helps my sympathetic nervous system a lot. And we've even do it with people. Like I've had people come in and be like, women, like, not they weren't soldiers, they weren't getting shot at, they weren't seeing dead bodies, but they just, they had moms who weren't awesome, they had husbands who weren't awesome, they had bills to pay, they had life that kicked through the teeth.
We
And
all
so
have
they went,
traumas, we
yeah,
all have traumas, that we go through in life.